Hello Internet, it's time for another Wednesday serial. This one's probably going to be a little more disorganized. You'll notice I don't have my shelf behind me tonight. That'll be coming back soon. But right now, my comic room is a bit in a state of disarray. Just boxes and comics everywhere. That is because I am in the middle of a bit of a project. I decided to take all my miscellaneous issues that I've had lying around, the older DC, Marvel, whatever stuff, and organize it into boxes based on whether it's Marvel, DC, or no, and then alphabetically, and in long boxes, and just put them away. So when I need to find something, I'm not searching through everything, but I know where to look. Also, this is allowing me to go through and be like, wow, and I realized I have probably about 300 comics that I bought that I never read, and a lot of them were just forgotten. Like, there's the Neil Gaiman Externals mini. I forgot I got that off of eBay and then moved, and just, it's been sitting there waiting for me to read, so hopefully that's worth the wait. And speaking of comics that I haven't read yet, there's been a giant sale at the local comic book store. And I'm not going to bore you with a haul video, but I got a box of comics. It's hard to get an angle. There's a little wizard on top there. That's basically all the comics for 50 cents a pop. So there's a lot of just random stuff in there. A few random issues, heavy on the X-Men for stuff that I want to read, but was never going to pay the full price for. There's a huge chunk of the X-Statix run, which is something I heard from a few people that is a really great run. One person in particular being Fiona Staples, and it's something I've been meaning to read, and so I have, I think, most of it now, and I'm going to try to patch that one together. Another notable one that I got a huge chunk of was most of Winnick's run on Green Arrow from a while back, and that has a lot of like socially relevant stuff and a lot of stuff that I heard about that, I don't know, probably would have never really checked out, but it was just staring me in the face there, and you know, I got like way over 100 comics and spent less than $100, which chunk of change, but that'll keep me busy. Not that I clearly had any problems with that, and I still haven't finished all of the Ninja Turtles that I amassed, and so many comics, and whew, that's a blessing, not a problem. So there's that. Now, before we dig too much more into comics, there is another issue I wanted to address. And not to get too far off, because I recently saw this video, comic review guy, and then he started working in from, you know, the $3.99 price angle, his take on politics and stuff, and you're like, whoa, man, whoa. Came for the comics, and you're going off into crazy politics land, and no thank you. But no, this is relevant. Well, somewhat nerd relevant, at least. This was through a Facebook group tied to the anime convention I go to every year, NDK. And this girl posted about how Gangnam Style, I can never pronounce it. You know the video, it's been freaking everywhere. And it's this Korean pop sensation. She said somehow this has been tied to the word otaku. And is that bad for, you know, the anime movement? And if you are unfamiliar, a lot of anime nerds essentially call themselves otaku. And it's brought up, and in the American anime culture, you know, it's kind of just a word they throw around, like nerd or whatever, you know, taking it back or whatever. Well, what's really interesting, though, and I know this because I have a lot of friends that have gone and come back from Japan, otaku isn't just like, you know, nerd, like kind of a label, a little bit of a put down if it's from someone from another social group, but kind of, you know, whatever. Someone calls you nerd, you're not gonna like freak out. otaku has a lot more of a social stigma to it, as a lot of things in Japan tend to carry a bit more weight in a way that they just can't in America anymore. Otaku is not just, like, you're into something that I'm not into or whatever. It's much more of a put down. It's an actual insult. It's more like calling someone a fucker or something like that. I mean, with the twists and all that, but I mean, it's not just like nerd. It's like scum. It's a little bit more weight on it. And in this article, or this girl posting the article it was saying, like, is this bad for us, all that? Is it bringing the word down? And I had to post because I'm like, no, it's an insult. You can't bring the word down if it's already an insult. Like, you guys took this on, you're owning it, and you're kind of oblivious, but whatever, it's all in good fun, and here it's not a big deal. That's great. But these people just need to understand that in Japan it's a bit more of a word. And then I went and actually read this article, and what happened is a lot of these self-proclaimed otaku are people who love Japanese animation, and Gangnam Style is a Korean pop sensation. They're just saying, like, it's a different thing. If you're a true otaku fan, you wouldn't even be looking at any of this because it's from Korea, not Japan. And I'm like, whoa. Okay, first, that's just blatantly racist. Yay. Second of all, if you're unfamiliar, much like any animation, especially most relevantly here, The Simpsons, there are these things called in-betweeners, where you have principal shots, which kind of, establish, like, every main thing, but in between a lot of these shots, there's just, movement. You need so many frames per second to make the animation look as smooth as you're going to, depending how smooth you need it to look, or how much you can afford to pay. These in-betweeners are essentially tracing with slight adjustments. They're just tracing, doing it all day. And traditionally, in-betweeners are hired out from Korea. Now, what makes this funny is they're saying if you love Japanese animation, you wouldn't look at this Korean stuff. A lot of the frames that you were watching in at least one of the animes you love had to have had some Korean hands working on it. So that was funny to me, on the fact of, ignorance. So there you go. Just thought I'd put that out there. Woo, rambly. Alright. So let's get to some comics. Now, the first one is none other than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, Eastman, Waltz are doing an amazing job. This was actually a powerful script that took the common Raphael going off the handle story, mixing it with something of the new take on Casey Jones, and showing a side of Splinter that was far more powerful. If you read last issue, you'd know that it ended after Casey was beaten by his father. Raphael left in a huff to go kill Casey's father. And you had a sense he wasn't, way stories ago, he probably wasn't actually going to kill him, but, hand him a hell of an ass whooping. But Splinter sneaks in more like a true ninja than, street thug. And as Raphael shows up, has a blade. Kind of interesting that's a sai, not a sword, but has a blade to this guy's neck and runs through the situation and says, should we kill this man? And so this guy's here. And so we start off this next issue with dealing with the morality of it. And what's really interesting is Splinter goes through this whole deal, like, yes, this man is scum. Yes, he probably does deserve to die. but we are not going to kill him because we are men of moral stature. We are better, basically. And he uses this for when he comes back to talk to everyone. And he then includes Casey into the family and says, if this man is not going to take care of him, we will take care of Casey. And so Casey's actually part of the group now and part of the family, which is great because it gives him a much more organic reason for him to be there. And now there's a lot more behind that in a way that makes a lot of sense to the tale of Ninja Turtles. Now we'll relate that to another comic later. But, so Casey's now part of it. And Splinter takes this moral stance and says, we didn't kill this man today because he poses, no threat to anyone. We're better than that, and, it's only so far. But he says the Shredder is such an immediate danger not only to us, but to everyone on the planet, really, that he's left us with no choice. It pains us to have to do what we're going to do, but that's part of the reason that we know that it's right, because there is no real viable solution other than that. And it's such a refreshing take to see, a story like this that's so epic and dealing with villains of this scale, and to have heroes that are recognizing that. You don't necessarily kill your common street thug, but if someone's as nefarious and evil as, say, Osama bin Laden or something, yeah, you kill them. You don't necessarily want to kill a man. It's not like you're going to take joy in it. You're not going to torture him. You're not going to be sadistic. But for the betterment of society, you can't allow that kind of a threat to exist. And of course there's more in here. And it is, from a moral argument standpoint, it's finer in a lot of ways to look at that stance on killing than has been presented to me in a number of college classes. So, go literary content. But what sucks is Andy Kuhn, who is a comic artist of his own right, and I went over this last time. His art destroys the story. It robs it of its emotional content, and it robs you from being able to take the story very seriously when the turtles just have their teeth out and they're like, oh, really? It pains me. It pains me that these issues won't be redrawn. If it wasn't for this, not subpar. Frankly, the fact that Andy Kuhn was brought on to this project makes me honestly question his stance as a professional artist. I don't think he's a work for hire. He robbed what could have been one of the greatest stories told in the medium, certainly within recent memory, and dropped it down to just another comic. I not thrilled about that, clearly. I don't know quite how else to put it. I couldn't rate this comic the way that other guys try to rate comics. I mean, how do you take something that's so elevated and so disparate? It's a bizarre clash, and it's usually harder for me to divorce the script from the artist and realize that there's a lot of storytelling being done in the art, because the emotion on the face and so much does so much and says so much and is so integral to the medium. And then you have a comic like this, especially with a property like this that means so much to me, and to see that, I honestly, after this issue, I'm kind of wondering if the franchise isn't going to dry up if they don't switch up artists soon. The art's that bad. It is literally destroying this comic. Yay! So coming off of that, let's try the inverse. I've said it before, but juxtaposition's sake. Deadpool with Hit Monkey. Yay. Looking at this, it became really clear that Daniel Way doesn't fucking understand Deadpool. You have this shit cop, unimportant to the story, have a fucking diatribe just launched in the middle of something for expositors. I mean, look at this page. It's him, talking, then her, and then him talking, and then him talking, and on this page, him talking is about as much as Deadpool talks throughout the rest of the issue. The merc with the mouth. He's supposed to talk and come off with random tangents that kind of come around and tie in and make you laugh in the meanwhile. And that's his thing. That's what every other single writer that's ever tackled him, except for Jimmy Pamelotti, has done. Jimmy Pamelotti is the second worst writer to tackle Deadpool. Not worst writer, but writing of Deadpool. But the art on this book, man, they have something going on. I mean, it's not going to blow you away. It's not Elegy. It's not something like that. Speaking of which, someone brought it up to me. Yes, Batwoman 0 has a lot ripped from Elegy, but it's still a good issue. One of the few good DC 0 issues. But the art in here, I mean, is just... It's good. I mean, it's commercial art, it's house art, but it's solid, it's there, the lines are there, the colors are right. It's nice to look at. But it sucks. Don't read it. If you're looking at Deadpool, wait until the relaunch, and I can't guarantee it will be good, but I can almost promise it will be better, because if it's not better, it will be universally panned. So there you go. Since I'm on the warpath, The Flash 0. Oh my god. First off, it's no secret that The Flash is an alright comic, but it's better when Francis Manapul is heading it, so he's writing and doing the art duties, really. Why would he take out the time from doing normal issues that he could do the 0 issue, one that almost might make more sense to have someone else do? That sucks, but what have you. In it, we have a story mostly about how the Flash's dear dad, Mr. Allen, murdered Miss Allen because she wanted a divorce. Yay! Making the past more tragic. Cause wasn't really needed, doesn't really add anything to the character except for his, criminal investigation pursuits, which he's not doing because he works at a bar now, so you really didn't need to play that up. And it makes this issue feel really tacky, and it adds a level of darkness that's not becoming to a hero like this. Almost makes more sense to give him a normal childhood and then understand criminal actions and boo Flash 0, boo. It's not terrible, but if you can avoid it, do. Much like pretty much every one of these 0 issues. Alright, we're ramping up, people, to Angel and Faith. There's some interesting stuff in here, and it plays a lot, but every action in this, finale of this arc shows where Angel's at with another character, builds the mythos, and is doing something, and they're already saying that, they're coming to a head on the whole Giles thing. It's moving. it's doing everything that the Buffy comic isn't that it should be, and kudos. Just a solid issue. If you're not reading it, if you're not a fan of Angel, I mean, it's a property comic, so but you see some things about Angel trying to build the resurrection. You see some things come out from Will in particular on Quoroth, this hell dimension that brings out the worst in people. And, you know, when she goes all black eye, evil witch, they really play that up without kind of playing the corny addiction angle. And it made for a great moment, and then they let it go. They don't try to blow it into this whole Dark Phoenix thing. They make a point to it, they play to it, and if you're unfamiliar, it's clear what's going on, but it's there, you know? Alright, I was robbed on this one. Maybe in the best way. So, The Punisher 15 finally came in for me, and it lined up so that I could read it and then go right into 16. And wow. They turned this whole Punisher deal into an amazing crime drama, and they saved all the action for the last minute. Since this is the conclusion of a great crime story, I'd be kind of remiss to talk about it right now, since I haven't, less spoiler alert, more I haven't digested everything. To say I got everything that was in here would be remiss. I'd have to certainly go through and reread it all on its own right. But amazing stuff. If you didn't read it, it should make a great 3 trades, I guess. I don't know. It'll be a hell of a read. It's going to be one of the more remembered Punisher arcs, though I'm not... That's not really a tall ladder. So I'm just going to go full hog on this one, because no one's reading this, and probably for decent reasons. 3rd issue, Gambit has this thing stuck in him, and he's trying to get it out, and so he has this sexy lady with him that probably has ulterior motives, doesn't really care if he dies, and she tries to use the thing in him to interact with something else to activate what should be the power of the gods, and then frickin' dragons pop out. And there's your issue. And yeah, this comic's losing me fast. It's kind of just, there's no point, it's not really that much fun, and honestly not that much TNA, which you think would kind of be the selling point, right? And the bit that they do was kind of just doesn't sit well. Maybe I'm just not there anymore. Maybe I'm growing up. Ugh. Then there was Rachel Rising. Now it's already been revealed that Rachel was one of these witches from 300 years ago that was attempted to be killed, and they expound on that and how we have our villainess, our Lilith, who views herself better, views herself apart from humanity, and for them having tried to kill her, she wants to not only eradicate those who tried to kill her, which she has, she wants humanity wiped out because, not humanity, but the town wiped out because they share the seed of those who tried to kill her. And it's just hate manifest. And you see some ties to more occult and a kind of interesting aside with the pentagram, and despite the fact that this was just a Talking Heads issue, which is kind of fun, but the amount this moved the story was incredible for something that's been fairly slowly paced. This is going. And cooking with steam now, and I'm not so much into occult stuff because usually it's like, oh look, gore, but this is certainly more thoughtful, and you know, it's freaking Terry Moore. Read this. Alright. My pick of the week could be no other. Of course, The Amazing Spider-Man versus Alpha. Now, what's interesting, first off to note, is that this cover is a play of Spider-Man versus Superman, as referenced here. Yeah, see it? I hope you do now. Yeah. Yeah, that was just... I saw that cover and I warmed up to this whole Alpha thing, and yeah, I was down on that first Alpha issue. They really... worst time to bring it out. But in this, you see the Avengers have a big issue with Terrax, and they call in Alpha against Spidey's better judgment, which you should trust, because comparatively, I think he's clocked more hours than any of the other Avengers on the whole superheroing thing. I think, right? Had more comics, right? So, Alpha fucks up and almost kills a bunch of people, and we see that, and this ties to Spider-Man having to save Aunt May, which has some interesting little bits about how he's tried to be a better son, but he's just been so busy, and then little bits with J. Jonah, and you see Peter and J. Jonah getting along kind of despite themselves, which is such an interesting turnaround, and people who aren't longtime fans of Spider-Man, I think, even enjoy that little bit, the fact that Aunt May and J. Jonah's father are now married. That's delightful. But we see this wrap up, and you see Peter finally get a chance to strip Alpha of his powers. And there's this beautiful line when he's in the middle of dealing with Alpha's mistake. And he turns to Jonah and he says, I know who did this. He's a kid superhero, and he's a menace. Awesome stuff. I mean, this issue kind of wraps up to make you see what was going on in that issue I hated, and makes that issue better for it. So, fairly powerful stuff, and I have to rescind my initial comment. No way is this better than One More Day. And it says so much, right, about how we sit here every week and we try to review these issues issue by issue, you know, as it's coming out, but we don't have a complete story. And admittedly, most of us, you know, we know the ins and outs of fictional tropes, certainly the superhero tropes, the comic book tropes. We're not uninformed, but we haven't read the whole story because it's not presented to us. And when there's a talented storyteller behind it, and you have something that you dislike at the beginning and it feels like it's going in a weird way, just have enough faith in that writer that if you feel that definitively about something, that was probably intentional. And I misstepped on that. And so, not that it ever matters, but I would apologize to Slot on that one. And certainly this is better than One More Day, dear Lord. More importantly, and a little bit of Spider-Man news, our next issue, 695. Dan Slott sent out something to retailers saying, don't short stock on this issue. This is going to be a big issue leading into the big event. He said, I don't play this card, but I am now. I'm telling you, you want to stock up on this. And I believe him. Dan Slott's had a fairly definitive run for years with Amazing Spider-Man now, and part of that time has just been him solo and double shipping, mind you, so it's a chunk, and there's been a few threads that are clearly going to come to a head here in 5 issues, and it's going to involve the Hobgoblin, it's going to involve the Kingpin, it's going to involve a touch of Aunt May and the Jamesons. You just know because the threads are there, and it's shaping up to probably be one of the greatest ends of a run on Spider-Man since Straczynski kind of wrapped up his ball when he wrapped it up with Romita Jr., not when he clearly had his contract extended and it went to hell. So I think those of you who've kind of been writing Spider-Man for a while, I'm telling you now, I really think the next 5 issues, you'll want to be in on the conversation. It's probably going to be one of the big Marvel DC comics of the moment, more so than normal. So there you go. So anyways, thank you all, of course, for watching. Love that people watch this. If you didn't know, I'm running a contest right now just for a trade. Whoever sends me the comic, the single issue that best represents spectacle in comics, meaning, you know, something that can be done in a comic book and couldn't be done in another medium. Kind of what I mean by that there. And so, yeah, if you want more about that, that is in my channels. Look at my last video. And yeah, but yeah, thanks to anyone who's watching. Of course, Minutia Minute is finishing up his whole Batman thing soon. Sleepy Reader's been doing some amazing vlogs. What the Fugue is awesome from Oddfellow Thoughts. And Ghost Critic is just doing his thing, which is good enough, right? And then, you know, James Donnelly had a slightly shorter, 15 minutes going this week. And, man, that guy goes, but it's worthwhile. Speaking of which, to him, I was looking today in my 100 comics and I didn't find any Shadow or Spider stuff. I was hoping there'd be something so I could grab a taste, but there wasn't. So, lay sigh. Anyways, thank you all for whoever's watching. If you're doing a new video, check it out. That is who I forgot. Decasa DC has just started up his stuff and is doing awesome. I guess he's skipping this week, but presumably next week. Go check him out. Shabam. Catch you all soon with another comic review, but not too often because I don't try to review everything, just when I have thoughts and, the show.